Hey, thank you so much for tuning in to Instrumental Intel. I'm your host, music producer Chickwood Beats, and today's episode is still continuing to celebrate Hip Hop History Month. We're going to talk about hip hop history in the making because there are people still building the culture right now. So I'm going to highlight some conversations that I've had with J. Scott the Illest and Admiral. So I'm excited to be bringing this episode to you. And before I go ahead and get started, of course, I've got to give a shout out to my home station, Grander Radio out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. And with that, let's go. Hey, I'm a Chickwood Beats, multi-genre music producer and strategist to indie artists and labels. Visit chickwoodbeats.com for resources for artists and instrumentals in various genres available for songs, vlogs, blogs, podcasts, themes, TV, film, commercials, and more. Once again, that's chickwoodbeats.com. That's ACHICKWITBEATZ.com. Let's make something happen. Thank you so much for tuning into Instrumental Intel. I'm your host, music producer Chickwood Beats, and I am very, very thrilled to say that I have with me in the virtual building J. Scott the Illest. I mean, he's a producer, songwriter, rapper, singer, whatever you need, he does it. I'm probably leaving some stuff off actually, but I just want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come in and share. And if you could, just let the people know who is J. Scott the Illest and how you got involved with music and stuff.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, again, thank you, Chickwood Beats. This is dope. You know what I'm saying? Being able to, connect with you, through IG and, you coming across my music and, I'm able to hear what you do as far as your production and, you invite me to your platform to speak. So I just want to say thank you for that first and foremost. But J. Scott the Illest is, I'm from Linden, New Jersey, now residing here in Douglasville, Georgia. I'm about 30 minutes from downtown Atlanta. But that's I'm just a classic, man. That's all. I love traditional boom bap, hip hop. I love soul music. I love jazz. Fan of R&B, of course. All of those genres of music are in me, and I like to try to use the most of that as possible. Whenever I get a chance to do some writing or some recording, you're gonna get pure lyricism from me. You're going to get some storytelling. You might get some singing. If I feel like a melody is telling me to sing something, you might get some of that. As far as the production, you're going to get traditional boom bap. You might just get some loops, where there are no drums, because I know that's become a thing over the past few years as well. So you might get some of that. But I'm just a nice collection of hip hop and music. I like to, say about myself.
Okay. So, you named all the genres and stuff. So who are some of the specific artists that you could think of that you would say maybe had the most profound impact on your music?
Man, we'd have to go back really, really far. We'd have to go back to the days of the Fat Boys. Me being a husky kid growing up, what I'm saying? I was able to make that connection with somebody who looked like me immediately, So, and then, what they was doing as far as hip hop, it just spoke to me. I knew exactly what it was. So we would have to go Fat Boys first, and, we'd have to go Run DMC, and we had to go LL, we'd have to go that whole early Def Jam, Slick Rick. We'd have to do all of that first, then we can get more into your, Nas and Big and Jay. I don't want to sound cliche, but it just is what it is. Those guys are really the ones that really, really made me just like focus and hone in on what's really, really going on. And Redman, me being from Jersey, definitely locking in with Redman and Fugees and Queen Latifah and Outsiders. And there was a guy from Piscataway. I think he was white boy. Named Milkbone. He was from Piscataway, New Jersey. So he had a joint out back in the early 90s. So it was a lot of influences, in regards to, what made me want to, pursue a career with rap and production. And, of course, as far as producers, I gotta mention Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre's probably the first producer that made me want to make beats. I was already a fan of rap and writing. But as far as me wanting to make beats, Dr. Dre is the one that made me do that with the Chronic album. I had never heard anything like that before. And just I'm listening to it, and I'm hearing stuff that I know nobody's even keying in on, because of my influences of listening to jazz and R&B, and hearing live instrumentation, and being able to see that in person. So I'm hearing that stuff in his production that I know the average ear is not picking up on. So those was Dr. Dre was definitely the person that inspired me to start trying to make beats, and then of course Premier and Pete Rock, those guys will forever be my top producers that I will go to and listen to hear what they're doing.
Okay, man, you named a whole bunch of heavy hitters right there.
Yeah. This thing goes long in my blood.
Yeah. So, okay, with those being some of the early influences, what would you say was like the turning point where you were like, you know what, I gotta do this, I gotta pursue this like wholeheartedly?
So it was during COVID. Up to that point, I had, recorded myself, and, I had recorded a couple of joints with some brothers that might have been trying to do something, here or there, but I had never tried to really pursue it for myself, because I'll be honest with you, I dealt with shyness when it comes to certain things. As artists, we always are very, particular about, who we show our art to and who we let hear our art. And, we so, worried about what somebody might think about what it is we're doing. So a lot of times we might not, do that, out front, So for a long time that was me, but it was COVID, and us being locked down and not being able to move, so I'm making beats in the crib, and during the quarantine, and I had one of my homies come over to the crib, because I'm a barber as well. And so, I had to shut, all the shops and everything was shut down during the quarantine. So, I have, certain clients, I would let them come to the house to get service. And this one particular client of mine is also a friend of mine, is a brother. His name's DJ Soul Fingers. He's from Linden, New Jersey. And growing up, Soul was always one of them DJs he was a hip hop DJ first before anything. So, just growing up as a kid, going over to Soul Fingers' house, he always had mad vinyls of whatever the latest and current hip hop records was. So he's always been in my life. But anyway, he was over at the crib, and I'm playing him some beats while I'm cutting his hair. And he like, yo, what are you doing with these beats? And I'm like, bro, I'm trying to, sending them out to people, but, ain't nobody really biting on them. And he was like, well, maybe they don't know how to rap on the joints. Maybe they don't know how to write to them. He's like, you the one that's producing them, you should start doing it yourself. And I'm like, so you serious? At the time, I'm like, I think I was 47. And I'm like, I said, so I was like 47. He's like, so what? He's like, so what? He's like, you dope, bro. He's like, I know you. He was like, yo, I'm telling you, he's like, yo, if you start writing the rhymes to your songs, if you put it out there, he's like, bro, I'm telling you, people gonna mess with it, man. He's like, people like you, man. They gonna tap in and see what you're doing. And I said, you know what? I said, I give it a shot. And when he left, I wrote something, I recorded it, and then I just kept on recording songs. I kept on recording stuff, and started making connections with people on IG. And I dropped my first album. What was that, 2021? I think I put my first album out, independently. I dropped it on Bandcamp. And again, we was all in quarantine, so everybody was very supportive of it online, on Facebook and everything. And, they bought it up. I was like, okay, we got something here. So that's when I got serious about me really, being on the artist side of it.
Okay. So I guess with that being said, could you kind of walk us through your creation process? Like, what type of vibe do you have to get in, either for, whether it's you writing or just making beats? Like, what's your typical process look like?
So, as far as songwriting, I'd say 99% of the time, I have to hear the music first. And, that's my process. I know it's a lot of artists' process as well. The music will tell us what to say. The music will tell us what to say. It'll tell us what to sing. The music talks to us and tells us what direction it wants to go in. And then we have to follow the music. And now we have the task in front of us. It's like, okay, now I got the assignment. How are we going to navigate this assignment of this writing project? So that's what it is for me when it comes to me actually writing a song. I got to hear the music first. When it comes to beats, I'll look for the sample first. I'll look for samples first, and then I'll start chopping. I'll loop and listen. I'll chop some more. I'll move some stuff around. I'll start playing with pitch controls, and start messing with some automation, you know, and start messing with sliders and just playing with the effects. You know, once I got a good groove going, then I'll go ahead and I like messing with break beats. I like messing with break beats. I like reformatting the drums on those break beats and just bringing new life to those break beats. And so that's my process as far as production. But yeah, and then sometimes it, like I said, you know, with what's been going on over the past few years, you know, sometimes it might just be a loop. You know, it might just be a jazzy loop, and I might be like, all right, we just gonna borrow up on this, and we ain't putting no drums on it. You know, so different ways. I also like to work with people who play live instruments too. There's a brother that I met down here in Georgia since I've been back here. His name is Mike Jarrell, and Mike Jarrell is a super dope artist, super dope. Plays multi different instruments, and we've been building on some stuff too. So now I got somebody that I could say, Mike, I need some horns on this, and Mike can play me live horns. So I could be like, Mike, I need some organ, and he can play organ and piano in different keys. He just brings a whole lot to the table that I'm just excited about tapping into. That, you know, we've only done a little bit, but you know, I do like to do that sometimes too if I can, and that goes back to my, you know, the Dr. Dre influence. Okay,
so it sounds like you basically all about catching the vibe. Is that kind of how you choose your? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, definitely. That's yeah.
So, like, is that the same way you go about choosing who you collaborate with?
I just like to work. You know, I really just like working. You know, so you know, when I dropped my first project, you know, I was just like stuck on that. Like, okay, I'm just going to rock over the stuff that I produce, and then I did my second album. First album was called Lazaretto, by the way, because, you know, we was in quarantine, and that's what Lazaretto means. Lazaretto's the hospital or quarantine, so I named it that. The second project is called Flowzark, and so I kind of took it, you know, took a page from Ozark because I'm a huge Ozark fan, and I just wanted to call it Flowzark because, you know, the way I was messing with different flow patterns and stuff like that. But, you know, I think I was rewatching Ozark at that time too, so I was just playing off of that.
I just had it on earlier today.
Listen, I can't. At some point in time, I will rewatch all of it again. That's it. But yeah. So with that, you know, I was pretty much just only rocking on my own beats. But I had a friend of mine, Low Badget, out of Harrisburg, PA, and he would tease me about that. He like, yo, Scott, man, you don't want to rock on nobody else's beats, man. I'm sending you stuff and you ain't feeling it. I'm like, it ain't that. I'm like, I'm just in a pocket right now, you know. But then I had to take in consideration what he was saying, and I started reaching out to different producers, like, yo, I'm hearing what you're doing, what's going on over there, and then, you know, start coming to find out that some of these people I was reaching out to, they was also fans of my work too. So yeah, so I'm just a fan of the work. You know, if I hear something that somebody's doing and I think I can add on to it, I'll go ahead and ask for it, you know, or see if we can collaborate on some stuff. You know, I've been digging into some of your tunes as well, and so, you know, I see like that you're mad versatile, and I see you like to play with them house vibes too. So, you know, me being from Jersey, you know, I know all about that. You know what I mean? So I know you and I definitely can put something together, you know. So, but yeah, it's all about the vibe. Like you said, it's about what I hear, and if it moves me, and then, you know, then we can work. I feel like I have enough experiences in different genres of music that I can jump in several different lanes, excuse me, and still maintain who I am as an artist, you know, without veering off too far from what people, you know, normally would hear from me and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah. Okay. And so I'm glad you said that about, you know, working together, because now I got you on record. It's going to be on all the podcast platforms. So I'm going to hold you to that.
Absolutely. Let's get it. Let's get it.
All right. So, yeah. Okay. I want to kind of backtrack a little bit.
Sure.
So you said that you decided to just take this wholeheartedly, completely seriously during the whole quarantine period. And considering that's when you decided to take it serious, and like your skill level now, what do you do to just, I mean, you sound like you've been taking it serious your entire life. So what exactly was going on in those few years to just, you know, like.
so, you know, in those, like I said, I've always been, you know, I'm the same age as hip hop. So it's in my DNA. It's just part of who I am. And so I've always been in the culture, you know, whether it was me trying to graffiti art, but I still was trying to rap. Or if I was beatboxing, I still was trying to rap. Low key to myself, though, I was writing stuff. If we was breakdancing, you know what I'm saying, I still was trying to rap. And then as we got older, and now it's starting to get more progressive, and we starting to learn that this is going to be something that's going to be here, and it's going to become dominant. And now we're getting into the those early days, like I mentioned, of Redman and Fugees and early Nas and Jay, and Helter Skelter and that whole boot camp era, you know what I'm saying? Now you're starting to see the submerge of people just having ciphers and people jumping up in ciphers. And so that I was now I wasn't scared to do that. I wasn't scared to jump in a cipher, but I had that fear of actually trying to be an artist, be a rap artist, because, I just had so much respect for rappers, and I don't take that as a joke. I see what goes into it, and for you to be able to write something, that's going to have that kind of long-lasting effect on somebody, and for you to get in front of people and perform that, it takes a lot of heart to do that. And like I said, I always had so much respect for that artist. I just never fool with it, but it's always been in me to do it. And people that know me personally, they've been knew that what I was capable of doing. It was just about me getting out of my own way and going ahead and doing it. So yeah.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's heavy right there. And I feel like, well, first of all, most of the listeners of the podcast are independent artists. So anybody that's listening out there, what kind of advice do you have for them to go ahead and step out of their shell, for something that they've been kind of passionate about, but maybe they're afraid to do it?
Yeah, just do it. And don't worry about what anybody has to say. Don't worry about what anybody thinks. Do what you love to do what feels right to you, and just put it out there. You just don't never know who's going to like it, and if they don't like it, so what? It's your art, it's your expression, it's therapeutic for the individual as well, and it's expression. There might be things that you are holding in that you might not know how to express or deal with, but music is an outlet. Or whatever it is that you're trying to do, it's an outlet. So, I would just say, just go for it. Don't let the people around you keep you from becoming who you can potentially be. Just do whatever it is that you feel like doing and that you believe that you can do. Just do it. And find like-minded individuals. Find other people that's on the vibe that you on and trying to accomplish and achieve the things that you're trying to achieve too, because that'll help the progress.
You just dropped some very dope gems. Appreciate you for that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So again, to backtrack a little bit more, you had mentioned some of your projects from Flowzark, how you like Ozark, and one of the things I realized. So me personally, when I'm working on stuff, I like to have the TV on, no matter what I'm doing, even if I got my headphones on. Sometimes I'll have like the little, the subtitles up so I can still see what's happening. One of my favorite things, aside from Ozark being just brilliantly written, great actors, but it was the music. I love anytime Ruth was playing hip hop. Like,
yes,
that's worth having it on in the loop in the background.
Yeah,
just for that, because she was listening to some bangers. I'll be like, okay,
yeah. Ruth would be listening to Big. She'd be playing pop.
Yeah.
I think she was playing some Wu-Tang one time. Maybe I'm not exactly
sure. Yeah.
So that just goes to speak about about the reach of our culture. It's everywhere. And it's the thing that brings all of us together. When you have those times of racism and prejudiceness, hip hop will break down all of that, and everybody will come together and vibe and hug and cry and sing and rap and dance together. And when the moment that's over, they'll all go back to some of those old ways. So that just goes to show you how big and meaningful this culture of rap and hip hop is to us. That we all, if we're involved in it, we all have a duty to continue it and to continue to build on it and make it expand, because that it can create the change that we need.
100%. I feel you there.
That's funny. You said you like to have the TV on while you're creating, and it might not even be no noise and subtitles on. Yo, shout out to my my engineer, Crease. that's how he works. When we're in the studio recording, he's got, everything set up, but the television above him, he's always playing something and the subtitles is on. I'm like, this guy's crazy. But, however you work, that's how you work.
Yeah. Well, shout out to him, because I thought I might be the only one, because I'm like, I know this is kind of strange, but sometimes, you can glance up and catch the right thing and it causes inspiration.
True.
Like, you know what? That's a dope line. I'm going to take that and, make a beat called this. So I do that a lot. A lot of my beats are named after like weird things that I've heard on TV shows or looked up and saw in subtitles. So yeah. Yeah. So, okay. You shared with us some of the projects that you had out. Do you want to talk about any future projects you got coming up? You don't have to spill the beans about anything that you don't want to. But
I definitely will. So, but before that, I want to just ask everybody to, go to your streaming platform of choice and please go pull up my my album De La Rain. I named that after my mom. She's still with us, but I wanted to give her, her flowers. I always want to give my people their flowers. So I named the album De La Rain, kind of playing off De La Soul, but using my mom's name too. And that's her high school graduation picture you'll see on the cover for that. But I just want to encourage everybody to please go and listen to that album, because it's some joints on there, man. And it'll take you on a ride. You got some highs and some lows, some left and some rights. You got some pit stops on there. It's not, my projects, I try to take people on a ride. I don't like to just be going in one direction the whole time. I like to take you on a ride and give you, challenge your thoughts and give you some things to listen to, some different vibes to listen to. I got a joint on there dedicated to my father, because I was like, ain't no Father's Day records, and if they are, they're not really known. And, so I want to do one for my dad. And so I did that for him. And, you got another joint on there called Girls in My City. And I'm like, what? Nobody's really talking about paying respect to the females in their cities and stuff like that. So I wanted to create a record that was universal as far as that goes. I did a trap joint on there because a lot of people in my age bracket and in my era of hip hop, a lot of those guys and girls, they'll turn their ears and turn their heads away from the trap joints. But I'm like, what? It's not that you got to turn your head away from it, but you have to hear it in a way that is pleasing to you. So I did the trap joint, not sounding like I was 20 or 30 years old trying to be on that type of vibe. But, I just jumped into that kind of cadence that those guys use, put a little auto tune on it, and I actually told the story. So I'm like, I wanted people to hear that. You got to, the first record on the album, The Jerk, that opens up the album, that's me being fully transparent and just introducing myself and just, sharing some incidences in my life that occurred that, could be embarrassing for somebody to talk about, but that's life. And we all have those moments when we behaved in certain manners and that wasn't too pleasing, but we still have to be able to look at those situations face to face and talk about those things. So, but it's a lot of vibes on there. I just would like for everybody to tap into that album called De La Rain. But I got a project coming. I've been dropping singles this year. Mm-hmm. I've been dropping singles since January. I'm like, every month I'm dropping a single. I actually dropped 2 EPs though, but I've been dropping mad singles and mad EPs all year, just trying to build up to this bomb that's gonna drop. So I got an album coming out. It's fully produced by Bumpy Knuckles. Mm. And, me and Bumpy linked up online a little over a year ago. He saw one of my videos. Boom Bap Nation reposted it on IG. I'm going through the comments and I'm seeing there's a lot of heads in there that's in the game that's commenting on this video. And so I seen Bump commented and I sent him a message like, yo man, appreciate the feedback. He's like, nah, bro, I see what you're doing. I see you, man. Just keep going, bro. Keep going. And so from there, fast forward, some months later, and I was working on a joint. And I was like, man, I need somebody to get on this record with me. And I just took a shot. He popped up in my head. I said, you know what? Let me hit Bump and ask him. And so I hit him. I asked him, what would it take for he and I to work together? And he was like, what you thinking about? And I'm like, yo, listen, I got this joint. I'm hearing us going back and forth. I want to send it to you. So he's like, all right, cool. Sent it to him. He's like, I'm not really hearing you and I going back and forth. He's like, but you go ahead and do what you do and then send it to me after that. And so that's what I did. Wrote my bars in a way of, I left the gaps open for him to fill in. And he hit me back. He's like, bro, give me a week. I'm busy on some stuff. He sent the record back the next day, and from there we established our relationship. And then just, from talking with him, he just was like, yo, man, I want to produce an album for you. He's like, I want to work with you. And we locked in. So we got an album coming out. It's 10 records on the album. There's absolutely nothing like this that you're going to hear. I know people say that a lot, but I promise you, when you hear this album, you're going to be like, yo, who is J. Scott the illest? Like, what this, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so many different vibes on there, man. It's like, of course we got the traditional boom bap stuff on there, but we got some R&B joints on there. Like, we got some stuff that could be played on the smooth jazz radio, but it's still got a rap, the hip hop vibe to it. It's just really, really dope. I'm super proud of it. And like I said, it's 10 joints. He just sent me the artwork for the cover art the other day. I just approved all of that. It looks amazing, and I'm super excited. Can't wait for y'all to hear that. We don't have a date for the release yet, but that's what me dropping these singles and these little clips and all this stuff. That's all that's being done to lead up to that.
Okay, so a lot of people may say that, but I'm gonna say you're the first person I actually believe, because you got like this classic vibe with a modern sound that I feel like it's kind of hard to balance, for most people, but you execute it so well. And so, I'm definitely excited to hear. And, since time is kind of getting ready to cut us short a little bit, I want to make sure that everybody knows exactly where they can follow you, like all your social media, website info, all that good stuff. Yeah.
So social media, I'm mostly active on IG. At J. Scott the Illest, JSCOTTDAILLEST, J. Scott the Illest. And then I have my website also, which is officialjscott.com. So you can go on there, you can find the music, you find the music videos, you'll see some performance videos, and then I have some merch on there as well.
Okay, awesome. And once again, I thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to share. And I'm really hoping this is just the first part of many, and that I get to have you back on here again sometime soon.
Listen, whenever you need me, just holler at me. We locked in now, so we definitely got to get on some music too.
Yes, most definitely. All right, well, I appreciate you so much.
Absolutely, appreciate you as well.
I'm excited that I have with me in the virtual building today.
I have a rel. I'm the MC/entrepreneur representing Bronx, New York. I've been a lifer when it comes to the music, but in terms of just being in the business, I started my brand in 2009, and just have gradually just built from that point on. So that's pretty much in a nutshell. That's who I am.
All right. Well, who would you say some of your biggest influences have been, whether it's musically or even other entrepreneurs?
Okay, so in terms of music, I think I became a fan just of hip hop, just listening to Rakim and KRS-One early on. That was like my early inspiration. My sister, when I was a kid, she was a local DJ in the neighborhood, and I remember we used to have little park jams in a park, and then one of the first records that I would hear was from those two guys, and really just automatically was sucked in and just been a fan ever since. But in terms of just like influences, once I started, really pursuing being an artist, your Nas's of the world, your Wu-Tang Clans, Mobb Deep, those are like big influences for me, just coming up, and I'm starting to develop my sound. Those are kind of like the measuring sticks in terms of like the top MCs. So that was kind of really what really reeled me in. And at that point when I really started to really dig in and dig in as far as an artist, and and sharpening my pen. That's really what I used to really measure what I was doing against them.
Okay, yeah, those are some major heavy hitters there. So obviously you were probably drawn to them because of how lyrical they were, and you're using them as a balance, I guess. But how do you kind of get into the process before you start writing to make sure that your pen game is strong, that your mind's in that mind state to be able to just kind of let it flow.
Yeah, one thing, and like if anyone who's familiar with my music, can tell that it comes from a genuine personal place. So for me, just really, solitude is like a starting point for me. I usually I do a lot of my writing the most random times, sometimes in the wee hours of the night, and just drawing inspiration just from the day, just things that are happening around me and just around my loved ones and just people in general. So I draw from all of that. So that's kind of where my sound was created.
Okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense. So you just kind of absorb in, need some time to reflect. That's what's up.
Yeah, very organic, when it comes to it. So I don't try to steer my music in a particular direction to make specific type of records, just to satisfy people. I try to keep it, as pure, as pure as I can and more, true to myself.
Okay. Well, typically, when artists are actually artists, like how you mentioned, sometimes it's a little bit harder to figure out how to market your audience. So, how do you, how do you kind of overcome that struggle to found your people?
Yeah, so I think early on it was probably even more challenging, just because from an industry standpoint, artists don't have as much control, in terms of what the content is that they need to market. And I just think being an independent, I'm able to kind of create the music that I want the people to hear. And obviously it's a little bit more challenging, in terms of just folding that into just the masses and just what what's been kind of put on the forefront, right? But at the same token, right, there are a lot of tools that are available to us now that probably weren't available in the past, that we can get our music to the people that want what we have to offer.
Yeah. Just the tools that are at hand so easily, and even to be able to get your music into all the different streaming sites, it's so much quicker than I ever imagined.
Exactly.
That it could have been. And I think that it's a great thing, but at the same time, just recently it said that major labels were kind of starting to take more of the market share again, because the indies were holding it for a while. But
they'll always find a way.
Right.
They'll always find a way to make sure that they can salvage their control of the industry. So there's a lot of backdoor business, obviously, and I think it's starting to be discovered, now that these things are happening.
Yeah.
From the label standpoint, in terms of, like you said, controlling that market share too. So you always have to kind of keep yourself as informed as you can, to kind of keep yourself functioning and profitable.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's part of the reason why they were holding the share, or indies were holding the share so much, just because, like you said, people were starting to realize, I don't want to listen to this. Just because you tell me, 100,000 other people stream this within the first amount of minutes, then I don't necessarily trust that. But that's a really great point, and I think that we're on a brink of just a shift in the industry altogether, and I'm really hoping that I'm right. But so what are some of the
feels like it?
Yeah.
Sure.
Like some good stuff is coming. But yeah, what are some of the common challenges that you face within the industry, whether that be, if you had a deal with a label at one point, or, the collaboration that didn't go so well, but what are some of the challenges that you faced and overcome?
Okay, so I think a lot of the challenges for me is just that knowledge gap when it comes to the mechanics of the business. That was the biggest challenge for me, especially early on, because obviously everyone comes up and they want when we grew up, it was like you want a deal, right? So this was the goal, right? But ultimately, you come to a place when you understand like a deal per se is actually a bill, right? So
yes.
So when you look at that, it's not so attractive, anymore, But I think a lot of and you see a lot of the artists that you see now that they're preyed on because they don't have that knowledge of business, and honestly just want to be seen, just want to be, have that look, and not understanding that, like, understanding what's being signed, and honestly what it takes for you to actually be truly successful and not just looking successful in the business. So, so for me, that was one thing that I really drove me into kind of pivoting from, that, looking like, looking so much towards like a major deal like that. I think, like you said, we don't have artist development anymore either, so, that's a whole nother thing. That was something that was critical in the past to kind of really build a brand, for an artist. But honestly, now when any relationships that people have with labels, it's more built around like established product, right? You're viral, like either you're viral or you just have a already built, following that's, that they deem, profitable, is the only time that they even want to be involved, with an artist, which I understand, from a business perspective. If you don't have to invest, those resources in an artist, you can just kind of slap your stamp on, that artist brand, it's obviously a lot more easy. It's a lot easier, in that respect. So I think that's kind of the direction that it's gone for major labels at this point. So for me, I'm very happy to be independent. Obviously, there's still a lot of growth opportunity there, a lot of work to be done, and obviously it's a lot more hands-on. When you're independent, like, you really have to, get yourself informed and really find ways to really drive your business and find a way to drive, financially drive it to be able to continue to kind of deliver the music to the people.
Yes, that's a serious gem that you just dropped right there. But yeah, like, to find the information, like, there's so much out there. That's actually the purpose of this podcast as well, like actually sharing music business news and insights of other artists, because it's kind of hard to stay on top of stuff. So, but it's so important. You put your blood, sweat, and tears into the music, you should be getting compensated for it every time someone listens. So yeah, right.
And it's that balancing act, right? It's the balancing act of just trying to really understand what the time commitment is, and and what resources you need to commit on the business end to really capitalize off your music, right? Because that's the challenge, right? Because obviously if you need you need a team, right? But obviously it needs to be what kind of team are you putting together, right? What is the role? What are the roles of the people that's involved, and what do they contribute, right? A lot of times folks just have people around, them because, you're the attraction, right? So people like to be around people who are in motion, and they feel like they're growing and progressing, right?
Yeah.
But obviously when it comes to, having a team to help you take that next level, everyone has, the roles have to be defined, it has to be, and people all have to be committed to their piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
So that's a huge challenge. A lot of times, like I said, you see people with a lot of folks around them, right? But who's really contributing, right? Who's really, helping push it forward,
right?
So that to me, that's a big challenge that I see. I experience personally, and just like people that I'm familiar with, to kind of run that challenge as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a huge problem. What kind of advice do you have to offer anyone to be able to weed those people out? Like you said, you need people who are actually focused on the goal. Are there some, should I say, maybe red flags that people can utilize before they get too serious into it?
Yeah, I think so too, because the one red flag I think is like people who are not, this isn't what prior to, their involvement with you were not involved in this type of work, right? So there's no commitment to kind of that aspect that a business for them. They really just want to do it just to kind of be close to you, right? So you want to weed out those folks, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, do your research, right? If someone, like, people will see you active, and then, it happens to me, probably happens to you, probably happens to a lot of other folks as well. It's just that when they see you in motion, right? people will offer themselves, and just to get closer to your situation. So you want to make sure that you're transparent, right? You're transparent up front in terms of like this is what you're doing, and this is what you can contribute to what this movement is, right? And then and air that out early on, right? Sometimes once you get too far down the road with it, and then you're trying to do damage control. It's more draining than anything else at that point. So I just say keep up front with people, right? Keep up front with folks and really kind of say like this. All right, this is what this is what I'm doing. This is what I need to help move this forward, right? And put the focus on those other individuals and let them tell you, well, this is what I can do, right? You put it on them, and then let them prove to you, that they can contribute, and they're committed to what your common goal is, right? If it's not about that, then you keep moving the way that you are until you find the right people.
That's excellent advice. Do you kind of approach collaboration like just artistically the same way?
Yeah, I think with collaborations, and this is something that I kind of struggle with a little bit with what I see now too, because for me, I'm very organic when it comes to collaborations, right? I don't want, like I said, I just like, for example, if it's it might be a more known artist that I like their talent and I would like to collaborate with them with, but if it's just specifically just business and is not a mutual respect for the art, is something that I tend to shy away from. I'm very organic when it comes to like creating, right? So like when I want to work with people I want to work with, right? That's kind of how I came up in this too, and now I see I see a lot of producers. Now I'm sure you probably have seen this too, where producers may collaborate with a industry artist inside and broker some deal, and then they start selling these packages where you buy a beat from the producer, and they'll give you like a pre-recorded verse from an artist. That's not my thing. That's not my thing, because honestly, like I said, the creative process is like you want to share an idea and genuinely collaborate on the song and make it what it's supposed to be, right? I just don't want a random verse on a song on an idea that I created and just like plug and play. I don't believe in that, but I understand it from a business side. The production game is very competitive. It's a lot of especially like nowadays. Before it was a lot more organic, but now you have people who are beat makers per se, not producers, right? So, and a lot of times it's just it's quantity over the substance in the creative process, so to speak, right? I get people to this day, who shoot me like folders on folders of just beats, right? But my whole thing is like, right, have you listened to my music?
Right.
Have you sat there and say, all right, I like what this artist is doing, right? I think I have something that like kind of that fits them sound. I think that they would do something really great with, right? And then pitch that,
right?
Opposed to just randomly just sending folders over that. Obviously, the attention span of people. I don't have the time for someone to send me a folder of 200 beats in a given day and actually sit and get through them all.
Right.
With 10 other producers doing the same thing. It's just it's counterproductive.
Right.
So my thing is like, do the outreach, right? Do the outreach, build a rapport, kind of see what the artist is working on, right? So that's a whole nother piece to it. It might be something that I like, right? But if it's not in the flow of like what I'm working on, right? I may hold on to it, right? But it's not going to be something that I'm going to want to work at that point in time, right? So it's a lot of little nuances, right? That I think that people can do better in that respect in terms of just relationship building, right? I think that's very important. I think it's like a lost art.
Yes.
Right? Just doing some outreach, just like even when we set this interview up, right? It was it was outreach. You can explain what you have going on,
right?
And then we lined it up, right? It's so much simpler when you can do it that way, and then it's a lot more productive. But I think a lot of people, everything is instant gratification, right? It's everything is just so fast that you're not getting the best out of the situation by the way, way that they're moving. So that's just a little bit of, the advice I would share to people. So don't shy away from building organic relationships.
Oh yeah, that's an amazing gem right there. It's like you were saying, with the plug and play, how it's just kind of generic. It doesn't have a feel to it either.
There's nothing to it, right? It's empty.
Yeah. And what's the point of making music if it doesn't make you feel anything?
Yeah, and it's even sad because now I'm looking at some artists artists that I really admire and they're participating with this, but I get it, get it from that front too, right? I don't know what the financial situation is, but sometimes these people need to check.
Right.
I get it, at the same token, but like I said, at the end of the day, when you look at it from an artist standpoint, right? Think about this: you would have probably no communication with this artist whatsoever, but you have a record together.
Right.
Doesn't feel good,
Yeah.
It's just and then a lot of people can read through it too. You understand when someone makes a song and it was really collaborative, and instead of people just throwing verses on something.
Yeah,
there's a big difference.
Absolutely. Yeah. And even if the energy is off, if it's a collab that you don't want to do, it just it kind of taints the whole thing.
And then think about this: say it is something in this, something great, right? And then now you want to really market it. You want to shoot the video, and you want to do you want to perform and do things like that. Now what happens?
Yeah.
So it's just it's a whole lot to be desired with that. So a lot of times, and I'm starting to see it more frequently now with these ads, but it's just something. It's not for me. It's not for me. Like I said, I'd rather if I sat there and met an artist and they're familiar with the work or whatever, and then we have some type of dialogue about it, then I'm all in. But if it's something like this, it's just not generic like that. It's just not something. That's not my vibe.
Yeah. Well, I can definitely understand that because, like I said, the whole energy sounds off, and it's just no fun to listen to. But
right. We don't have enough fake energy in the world to begin with, right? We don't need any more.
Right.
We don't need any more.
Yeah. So, okay, when you first came in, you mentioned that you represent the Bronx. So if you could maybe share a little bit about how you think that shaped you musically.
Yeah, so I mean, it shaped everything from my life, because where I came from, honestly, was my neighborhood, the literal birthplace of hip hop. So, there's a responsibility, in with that, even hearing it from the OGs, I've got the story from the beginning, 3 blocks away from the building I grew up in. This is where where it really started. So a lot of times that a lot of the stories and things like that really educated me just to the culture itself came from we used to have these things called park jams in the neighborhood, and every project and park and stuff like that, they would have the top DJs and for the neighborhood would bring the big speakers out, plug them in the light poles, and bring the crates of records out, and honestly, dope parties all night, right? And no matter what the noise was, it was understood. It wasn't a big deal. A lot of good vibe energy around it, and really just it was about the music. It was really about the music, and I think that's what the biggest thing that when we think of the Bronx, and it came to that, and it comes to hip hop too, right? It's always remained about that. So for me, being an MC, coming out the Bronx too, for me, I always in terms of just the content itself, it always had to be authentic to me. It always had to be respectful to the culture. That's something that I always, respectful obviously to you as an artist. You always want to be respectful to the culture too, and not water it down. You know what I mean? So I really, during my whole time doing this, it's kind of been built around that too. So like even when we were just having cyphers on the block, coming up, it was the same thing, right? If you didn't have your bar work wasn't up to par, right?
Yeah.
You sit on the sideline, right? You don't disrespect the people that really do it, by sitting there getting involved. So definitely, it's like a badge of honor coming from the Bronx, when it comes to hip hop, for sure.
Yeah, that's incredible. Like you said, authentic and to respect the culture. And
and you think about it, you listen to KRS-One, right? You listen to you listen to Slick Rick, you listen to these guys, right? These guys were like, these are like in my eyes, they were pioneers, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But one thing that they did, they always paid homage to the originators that came before them too.
Right.
And they were true to that too. So that's what I'm saying. That's kind of really what has been passed along generations when it comes to it. Obviously now with social media, it's changed a little bit too, because now, people gravitate to kind of like what they think the masses are doing, right? So you have New York artists who, sound like Southern artists. Now you have, you have people that were doing, for the boom bap era doing drill and, all types of stuff too. So it's a different vibe. And like I said, I have no issue with like experimenting with sounds and stuff like that. I think that's just part of being creative, right?
Yeah.
But know your identity, right? Know your identity about it, honestly, and don't forget your roots.
Yeah.
That's a big deal to me.
Because that's the thing, though. Yeah, like you said, you can experiment, but it should still sound like you.
Exactly.
Yeah, it shouldn't feel foreign.
Exactly, it should still sound like you. So it's funny. I have a record that I dropped not too long ago that has a drill sound in terms of the production to it, right? But I still, in terms of how I rhyme to it, it was still in my pocket. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
At the same token, and that was one thing I said. It's okay to mash up, right? It's okay to experiment and evolve your sounds, because honestly, it gives you different. Like honestly, working with different styles of music allows you to open up your creativity too, right?
Yeah.
So like, say for example, if I'm rapping over a boom bap beat all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what the verses are going to sound like, right?
Right.
They're going to sound, more repetitive, than something when you go in different spaces sonically with it, and then you just obviously you still use your flow, right? But you can mesh it, and make it sound like something fresh.
Yeah, mesh don't disappear.
Right, exactly.
That's I feel you on that.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I actually work in a few different genres, but I can tell you one thing: like that sound, it's still going to sound like me. It's not.
And that's my point.
Not the carbon copy of something else that someone else is doing just because you've seen that it's profitable.
Exactly.
But I think that's
one person I used to always say with that too. That I used to always you know how you have you're a certain producer. You think of your Dre's, your Premiers, and stuff like that too, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know their sound from a mile away. Right?
Yes.
No matter what type of record that they're working on, right? This more than likely is this guy.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
We'll hear those cuts in the beginning, like, oh, that's Primo.
Right. That's Primo, right? Exactly. So that's kind of the same thing that I'm saying, right? When it comes to being an artist and you're writing, right? You don't always have to, write to something on a Primo sound or something like,
right.
Something like a Timbaland sound or something like that. You can do anything in your own pocket, right? But it just gives you a chance to open it up, right? And open your flow up. It kind of really challenges yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And still be you, at the same time.
Right. So, with that being said, you've given so much advice that I think will be helpful to a lot of listeners. But I just want to say one thing before I even set up the interview. I'm scrolling, and it's very rare that I slow down while somebody's rapping. But like as soon as the video started playing, I was like, oh yeah, like you can hear the authenticity like in your sound. Even the way you kind of film the video, like your movements and everything, like you could tell that you were just into it and really representative of the culture. And so yeah, I just kind of wanted to give you shouts on that, because especially with so much content, coming at everybody, you got the type of music that makes somebody slow down. Like, wait a minute, okay, I'm not going to keep scrolling. And so
let me listen to this a little bit. That's ultimately, like I'm saying too, and this is the point of like kind of maintaining your uniqueness is that, right? Because you want people to take that second look. Mm-hmm. You want people to do that rewind or that replay, right? Yeah. Because and honestly, the only way with so much getting thrown at us, right? That's it. That's the way to go about it, is kind of really stick to your person in terms of how and how you create, right? And kind of draw it up, bring them into that world, opposed to just trying to fit in with everything,
Yeah. So we're getting close to that half-hour mark, but I just want to make sure that people know what you've got coming up in the works. Any upcoming projects, and also where they can follow you and find all your music and all that good stuff.
All right, sounds good. So first and foremost, just in terms of how to follow me, my handle on IG is Admiral11. Admiral11 is the handle there. From anyone on Facebook still. It's Admiral X1. Admiral X1 there. My website is admiral11.com. And all my content is there. So that is the one-stop shop if you really just want to backtrack and kind of go through, some previous work and current work as well. You'll always find it there. In terms of TikTok, and this is something that I've kind of just started dabbling in a little bit. I just so I have some pages _Admiral11, so you can find some work there as well too. But definitely in terms of projects, I have a new project out now called Honor and Will Part 3. So I have two previous installments of that project with a 3-part series. So I just recently released the last part of that too. So definitely something to catch up on if you haven't heard that music as well. Very cohesive, very a lot of personal work, a lot of inspirational music there, motivational type music. And that's kind of really what my thing is too. I try to make some motivational music and kind of share my experience through music there. And I'm working on a new project which I haven't announced publicly, but just to the title, I'm about 4 or 5 songs into recording a new project, so I'm looking to release late in the fall, which is called a King's Calling. So that is on its way. So I'm definitely trying to keep the content coming. Be on the lookout for some visuals too. I have some new visuals coming just for the Honor and Will 3 projects. That be on the lookout for that. Probably going to be doing some performances in the fall as well, to just kind of moving and shaking, touch with some states, things like that, and just kind of doing, enjoying the ride, enjoying the music.
That's what's up, and I feel honored to have gotten the exclusive on the new project coming out in the fall too. So
nobody knows about that one. So,
got the exclusive. All right. That's what's up. Well, congratulations to you. It's no easy feat putting albums together at all. And so especially to be working on so much, and then even visuals and all that good stuff, I salute you. That's not for the faint of heart.
I'm not trying to cheat it. I'm not trying to cheat the art either. So it's we put a lot into what we do. So it's only right that we share it.
Yeah, that's what's up, and we appreciate you for that. I just want to thank you for taking the time to come on and share your story and share your wisdom. You dropped so many gems throughout this. And so, I just want to thank you for that. And hopefully I can have you back again soon in the future.
No, absolutely. We're connected now. So we'll definitely keep in tune. And obviously anything that you have going on and anything that you need from me, I'm just a click away. So just feel free to reach out.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
I appreciate you too.
All right, and that's a wrap for this episode of Instrumental Intel. I've been your host, music producer Chick with Beats, and I want to thank you for tuning in. Once again, as always, I appreciate the guests for coming on and sharing their insights. And I'd like to thank my home station, Grander Radio, out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Make sure you come back next week. I got more goodness lined up for you. So till next time, you know where to find me. Tune in, tell a friend, and I'll see you then. Peace.